"Run, Lila. They're coming for us," Captain Max Drayton shouted as alarms blared and the alien facility's doors crashed open behind them. "Run, Lila. They're coming for us," Captain Max Drayton shouted as alarms blared and the alien facility's doors crashed open behind them. The sterile corridors of the alien facility echoed with the relentless sound of pursuit. Max's heart pounded in his chest as he pulled Lila along, her small hand gripping his tightly. He could hear the clattering footsteps of alien guards getting closer. "This way," he urged, leading her through a maze of hallways. Lila's eyes darted around, filled with fear, but also a spark of determination. She concentrated, and a nearby door slid shut behind them, buying them precious seconds. "Nice trick," Max remarked, breathing heavily. They turned a corner and found themselves in a dead end. Max scanned the walls frantically until he spotted a vent. He pried it open and hoisted Lila inside. "Crawl through and keep quiet," he whispered. "I'll distract them." Lila hesitated. "What about you?" "I'll be right behind you," Max promised, though he wasn't sure he believed it himself. He turned to face the corridor, weapon ready. Moments later, the guards appeared. Max fired a few shots, taking down the first two. "Over here, you bastards," he shouted, drawing them away from Lila's hiding spot. He retreated down another hallway, dodging their return fire, and ducked into a side room, securing the door behind him. Max activated his communicator. "Distress signal sent. We just need to hold out until help arrives," he muttered to himself, wiping sweat from his brow. He hoped the message had reached Earth. If not, they were on their own. He could hear the guards outside, trying to breach the door. "Time to go," he whispered, slipping out through another vent that led back to Lila. He found her waiting, her face pale but resolved. "We need to get to the hangar," he said. "Stay close." As they made their way through the facility, Max couldn't help but admire Lila's resilience. Despite everything, she moved with a quiet grace, her eyes sharp and alert. "How much further?" she asked, her voice steady. "Just a bit more," Max replied. "Once we reach my ship, we'll be safe." They finally reached the hangar, but a guard stood at the entrance, weapon raised. "End of the line, human," the guard sneered. Max stepped in front of Lila, shielding her. "Stay behind me," he ordered, his mind racing for a plan. The guard advanced slowly, confidence in his eyes. "Get ready to run," Max whispered to Lila, his grip tightening on his weapon. He fired, but the guard dodged, returning fire and forcing Max to take cover. Lila peeked out, her eyes glowing with an intense focus. Suddenly, the guard was thrown back by an invisible force, slamming into the wall and crumpling to the ground. Max stared at Lila in amazement. "You did that?" Lila nodded, her breath shaky. "I think so." "Good job," Max said, quickly leading her to his ship. They boarded and Max powered up the engines. "Hold on," he warned as they lifted off, leaving the facility and its alarms behind. As they ascended into the stars, Lila sat beside Max, her eyes wide, with a mix of awe and exhaustion. "Are we safe now?" she asked, her voice barely a whisper. Max shook his head. "Not yet. They'll be coming for us." He set the ship to autopilot and turned to face her. "We need to find out who's behind this and stop them." Lila nodded, determination hardening her features. "I want to help." Max smiled, a fierce pride swelling within him. "We'll do this together. But first, we need to get to a secure location." He activated a secure channel and sent a coded message to Earth, hoping for a quick response. The console beeped, indicating a message received. An informant within the alien ranks offered information in exchange for sanctuary. "Looks like we have a lead," Max said, plotting a course to a remote, uncharted planet. As the stars streaked past, Max glanced at Lila. "You did great back there. I promise we'll get to the bottom of this." Lila managed a small smile. "Thank you for saving me." The alien guard crumpled to the ground, and Max quickly holstered his blaster. "Come on, Leela, we need to move," he urged, guiding her through the facility's exit. They sprinted towards his ship, parked in a hidden alcove behind a cluster of large boulders. The vessel's ramp lowered, and they dashed inside, the engines already humming to life. Leela's breath came in ragged gasps as she collapsed into a seat. Max didn't waste any time, securing the hatch and lifting off into the sky. "We should be safe for now, but we have to keep moving," he said, his eyes scanning the instruments. The ship's engines roared, propelling them away from the facility and into the vastness of space. Leela sat silently, her hands trembling. "Why did they do this to us?" she asked, her voice barely above a whisper. Max glanced at her, his heart aching for the young girl. "Because they saw potential in you, something they wanted to control and weaponize. But you're free now, and we'll make sure they never do this to anyone again." She nodded, trying to process everything. "How did you find me?" "I intercepted a distress signal," Max explained. "It was faint, but I recognized it for what it was. I knew I had to help." Tears welled in Lila's eyes. "Thank you." Max offered a reassuring smile. "You're not alone anymore, Lila. We'll get through this together." As they sped through space, a message alert pinged on the console. Max frowned and opened the communication. The screen flickered to life, revealing a shadowy figure. "Captain Drayton, you don't know me, but I have information that can help you. Meet me on the planet Esmir in 3 standard days." "I can't say more over this channel." Max studied the message, suspicion gnawing at him. "Could be a trap," he muttered. "We don't have many options," Leela said, her voice steadier now. "If there's a chance to stop them, we have to take it." He nodded. "You're right. We'll head to Esmir, but we'll be cautious." He input the coordinates and set a course. During the journey, Leela opened up about her time at the facility. "They tested us every day, pushed us to our limits. Some kids didn't make it." Her voice broke, and Max placed a comforting hand on her shoulder. "They'll pay for what they've done," he promised. "We'll make sure of it." 3 days later, they arrived at Esmir, a planet covered in dense forests and rugged mountains. They landed in a secluded clearing, the ship's camouflage blending seamlessly with the surroundings. As they disembarked, Max's senses were on high alert. "Stay close," he instructed Leela, scanning the area for any signs of danger. A figure emerged from the shadows, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "Captain Drayton, I'm Rico. I worked within the hybrid project. I couldn't stand by any longer, so I decided to help you." Max eyed him warily. "Why should we trust you?" Rico sighed. "Because I know what they're planning. They're creating an army of hybrids. They've already deployed some to test their capabilities. If we don't stop them now, they'll be unstoppable." Leela stepped forward. "How do we stop them?" Rico handed Max a data chip. "This contains information on the main research facility and the scientists involved. It's heavily guarded, but if you can get in and expose them, the Council will have no choice but to shut it down." Max took the chip. "We'll need more than just this. We need proof, evidence that can't be disputed." Rico nodded. "I can help with that. I have access codes and insider knowledge. But we need to move quickly. They're already on to me." "Then let's not waste any time," Max said. "We'll infiltrate the facility, gather the evidence, and bring it to the Galactic Council." Rico led them to a hidden transport vehicle. As they sped towards the facility, he briefed them on the security measures and layout. "The main lab is where they keep the most sensitive data. That's our target." As they approached the facility, Max felt a surge of determination. "We're going to put an end to this," he said, his voice resolute. They slipped past the outer defenses, using Rico's access codes to bypass security. Inside, the facility was a maze of sterile corridors and locked doors. Rico guided them through, avoiding patrols and cameras. They reached the main lab, and Max quickly accessed the terminal with Rico's help. "This is it," he whispered, downloading the data. "Let's get out of here." Suddenly, alarms blared. "We've been detected," Rico said urgently. "We need to move, now." They dashed through the facility, evading capture by the narrowest margins. As they burst outside, alien soldiers swarmed the area. "Get to the ship," Max shouted, covering their retreat with precise blaster shots. Leela used her abilities to shield them, deflecting incoming fire. They reached the ship and took off, narrowly escaping the facility's grasp. Max set a course for the Galactic Council's headquarters. "We've got what we need. Now we just have to make sure it gets to the right people." Leela looked out at the stars, a sense of hope dawning in her eyes. "We're going to stop them, aren't we?" Max nodded, determination etched in his face. "Yes, we are. And they'll never hurt anyone again." Max and Leela landed on the remote planet, their ship nestled in a rocky canyon. The terrain was harsh, with jagged cliffs and sparse vegetation. They disembarked, the air thick with tension. Max scanned the surroundings, his blaster ready. "Stay close," he instructed, leading the way. Leela nodded, her eyes alert. They made their way to a secluded spot where the informant had specified the meeting. As they approached, a figure emerged from the shadows. The informant was a tall, slender alien with wary eyes. "You must be Drayton," the informant said, extending a data chip. "This contains everything you need to expose the hybrid project." Max took the chip, scrutinizing the informant. "Why are you helping us?" The informant's eyes flickered with fear and resolve. "What they're doing is monstrous." I couldn't stay silent. Suddenly, the ground shook as alien soldiers appeared from the cliffs, weapons drawn. "Ambush!" Max shouted, diving for cover. Blaster fire lit up the canyon, the air filled with the sounds of battle. Leela instinctively raised her hands, and a shimmering barrier formed around them, deflecting the initial barrage of shots. "I can't hold this forever," she cried, her face strained with concentration. Max returned fire, taking down several soldiers with precise shots. "We need to move," he called, motioning for Leela to follow. They darted between rocks, the alien soldiers in hot pursuit. The informant was captured in the chaos, shouting, "Take the chip and go. Expose them." Max gritted his teeth, frustration boiling inside him. He and Leela reached their damaged ship, scrambling to get inside. "We have to fix the ship and get out of here," Max said, his voice tight with urgency. Leela nodded, using her powers to manipulate the ship's damaged circuits. Sparks flew, but slowly the ship powered up. "I think it'll hold," she said, sweat beading on her forehead. Max initiated the takeoff sequence, the ship trembling as it lifted off. "Hang on," he shouted, steering the ship through the narrow canyon. Alien fighters appeared on their radar, closing in fast. "We're not out of the woods yet," Max muttered, pushing the engines to their limit. The ship burst out of the canyon, alien fighters in pursuit. Leela, her powers still active, created electromagnetic pulses to disrupt the enemy sensors. "Nice work, Leela," Max said, focusing on evading the fighters. They weaved through asteroid fields, the alien ships struggling to keep up. Finally, after a tense chase, they managed to lose their pursuers in a dense asteroid cluster. Max set a course for the main research facility, the coordinates provided by the informant. "We're going to end this," he vowed, determination hardening his features. They reached the facility, a massive structure hidden within a barren wasteland. "This place is heavily guarded," Leela observed, peering through the viewport. "We'll need to be careful," Max agreed. They landed a safe distance away, making their way to the facility under the cover of darkness. Max and Leela infiltrated the perimeter, using stealth and Lila's abilities to bypass security. Inside, the facility was a labyrinth of sterile corridors and high-tech labs. They moved quickly, disabling cameras and avoiding patrols. They reached the central lab, where they found rows of containment units housing hybrids. Some were children, their eyes filled with fear and confusion. "We have to free them," Leela whispered, her voice trembling with empathy. Max nodded. "We will. But first, we need to get the evidence." They accessed the mainframe, downloading files detailing the horrific experiments and plans to weaponize the hybrids. "This is it," Max said, transferring the data to a secure drive. "We've got what we need." Alarms suddenly blared. "They know we're here," Leela said, panic rising in her voice. "Stay calm," Max urged. "We need to get these kids out of here." They moved swiftly, unlocking the containment units and guiding the hybrids to the exit. Alien soldiers converged on their position, but Leela used her powers to shield the group, deflecting blasts and creating barriers. Max provided cover fire, taking down soldiers as they advanced. The hybrids followed, their eyes wide with fear, but filled with hope. "Almost there," Max encouraged, leading them to an escape route. They reached the hangar bay, commandeering a transport ship. Max piloted the vessel, Leela and the hybrids huddled in the back. "Hold on," he called, lifting off and blasting through the facility's defenses. As they ascended into space, Max sent a transmission to the Galactic Council, attaching the damning evidence. "This ends now," he said, determination in his voice. Max and Leela crouched behind a stack of crates, the cold, sterile air of the facility filled with the distant hum of machinery and muffled voices. The research complex was a labyrinth of corridors and labs, each one a testament to the horrors that had been inflicted upon the hybrids. Max's heart pounded as he peered around the corner, ensuring their path was clear. "Ready," he whispered to Leela, his eyes meeting hers with determination. Leela nodded, her face set with grim resolve. "Let's free them." They moved silently, bypassing guards with a combination of Lila's powers and Max's military expertise. Each room they entered revealed more hybrids, their faces a mixture of fear and hope as they realized rescue had come. Leela used her abilities to unlock the doors, guiding the hybrids out of their cages and into the relative safety of the shadows. "Follow us," Max instructed the newly freed hybrids, his voice calm and authoritative. "Stay quiet and stay close." They reached the central lab, the heart of the facility where the most critical data was stored. Max quickly connected his datapad to the main terminal, downloading the files that detailed the full extent of the hybrid project. Leela stood guard, her senses heightened to any approaching danger. "Hurry, Max," she urged, glancing nervously at the door. "We don't have much time." The download completed with a beep, and Max yanked the datapad free. "Got it? Let's move." Just as they turned to leave, the door burst open. Alien soldiers poured in, weapons raised. Leela reacted instinctively, her powers flaring as she created a shimmering barrier between them and the soldiers. "Go!" she shouted, straining to hold the barrier. Max led the hybrids out, but he couldn't leave Leela behind. He turned back, firing at the soldiers to give her cover. "Come on, Leela." She dropped the barrier and sprinted towards him, the two of them barely making it out of the lab before the soldiers could react. They raced through the corridors, alarms blaring now as the entire facility went on high alert. The group burst into the hangar bay, where Max's ship waited. More guards closed in, and Max knew they had to hold them off long enough for the hybrids to board. "Get on the ship," he ordered, turning to face the approaching soldiers. Leela joined him, her powers crackling in the air. Together, they formed a formidable defense, buying precious seconds for the hybrids to climb aboard. Once everyone was safely inside, Max and Leela retreated, the ship's ramp closing just as the guards reached them. Max jumped into the pilot's seat, fingers flying over the controls. "Hang on," he shouted as the ship lifted off, blasting through the hangar doors and into the sky. They soared into the blackness of space, the facility shrinking behind them. Max set a course for the Galactic Council's headquarters, knowing they had the evidence they needed to shut down the hybrid project once and for all. Hours later, they stood before the council. The chamber was filled with representatives from countless species, their eyes fixed on Max and Lila. Max stepped forward, datapad in hand. "Honorable members of the council," he began, his voice echoing through the grand hall. "We have uncovered evidence of grievous violations committed under the hybrid project. These files contain detailed records of the experiments and the atrocities committed." He activated the datapad, projecting the files into the air. Gasps and murmurs spread through the chamber as the images and data were revealed. These hybrids are living beings, not weapons. They deserve justice and protection. Leela stood beside him, her presence a powerful testament to their words. "We ask for your help in dismantling this project and ensuring the safety of all hybrids." A heated debate ensued, with some council members expressing horror and outrage, while others voiced concerns about the political ramifications. Max held his breath, waiting for the verdict. Finally, an elder statesman known for his wisdom and fairness stood. "The evidence is clear. The hybrid project is a violation of every principle we hold dear. I move to shut it down immediately and grant asylum to the hybrids." The vote was cast, and by a significant majority, the motion passed. Relief and triumph washed over Max and Lila as the decision was announced. The hybrids would be protected, and the horrors of the project would end. As they left the chamber, the hybrids cheered, their futures no longer shrouded in uncertainty. Max turned to Lila, a proud smile on his face. "You did it, Leela. You showed them the truth." Leela nodded, her eyes shining with a mixture of relief and determination. "We did it together, Max. Thank you for believing in me." Their moment of triumph was interrupted by a shadowy figure emerging from the shadows. "Congratulations," the figure said, their voice low and ominous. "But be warned, this is far from over.